So Ron, if you can just talk to us about this new partnership we have with the Houston Dynamo FC.
Yeah, good afternoon, everybody, and what I think is a historic day for soccer in the Rio Grande Valley. I've been in a great mood since this announcement hit. I think it's fantastic, and I truly think it's a great partnership both for us and for the Houston Dynamo to continue their progression as an MLS franchise as well. But I think I'd like to start off just by talking about the main points of the partnership and what the highlights are of it, which are most importantly, technical control of the club will be locally here in the RGV. So I've got a big job in finding the right head coach and staff to lead this team into the 2021 season. And then also we've got a lot of players we've got to bring in, and that'll be in tandem with the head coach, and try to figure out how we're going to put the best squad on the field in 2021 to represent the Valley. Item number two, Houston Dynamo will still retain the MLS rights to players. So any players that come through the ranks and decide to go on to MLS, Houston Dynamo will have first crack at that. And then they'll be loaning players to us as well. So some of the talented players that have already been announced, like Kyle Edwards, and Juan Carlos Azacar, and most recently Kimbo Cavato, are all Houston Dynamo players that they're planning on loaning to us for this season. And then the third point, and what I think is the most exciting point, is the fact that we are now eligible to participate in the longest running tournament in the world in our sport, which is the Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup. And I remember when I was a part of the group that started New Mexico United in the USL a few years ago, I remember the excitement building to our first ever Open Cup. And I feel I've kind of had some deja vu thinking about, wow, with the Toros, we're going to participate in the U.S. Open Cup. The U.S. Open Cup is a magical tournament, and I got to experience the magic of it with New Mexico United when I was the chief revenue officer there. We took our team to the quarterfinals of that cup. We knocked off two USL teams in Phoenix and Colorado Springs. We knocked off two MLS teams in the Colorado Rapids and FC Dallas. And we earned a berth in the quarterfinal with Minnesota United, where unfortunately we exited the tournament. But I can't tell you the excitement that was in the town when we made that run in the tournament. And what I explain to people, it's kind of like March Madness. It's a soccer version of the college basketball tournament in March Madness, in that you could go down to your local bar, put together 20 people, put together a team, pay your little, I think it's $100 or $200 fee, and you could try to qualify for that tournament. And then if you qualify, you win, you stay on, and if you lose, you're out. So if you keep winning, you keep moving on, and next thing you know, you're playing USL teams, and then you're playing MLS teams. The fact that the Valley now has representation in a tournament as prestigious as this, and the fact that the Valley could go on to earn the title of the best club in America. And that's what the Open Cup is. It crowns the best soccer club in America amongst all levels of soccer. So super exciting that the Valley now gets to participate in that tournament. And I think we need the entire Valley support to help us go far in that tournament. So that's going to be a big goal for us moving forward, is advancing in the U.S. Open Cup and getting to the later rounds. And one day I'd like to see is lift that trophy. It's a huge goal. If you win that tournament, by the way, you get an automatic bid into the CONCACAF Champions League, which anyone that saw the game last night between LAFC and Tigres, that was the CONCACAF Champions. That means the Valley has an opportunity to participate in the tournament. If they were to win that tournament, go on to play Club America, Tigres, Rayados in a meaningful game. And even before then, we got the opportunity to play an MLS team if we win a game or two in this tournament. We could even be playing the Houston Dynamo. How fun would that be? So I'm ecstatic, if you can't tell. I'm very, very happy with the news today, and I'm truly looking forward to 2021. So I think that was a good overall summary, and I'm happy to take any questions at all.
If you guys have any questions, you guys can go ahead.
Yeah, Ron, Daniel Seva, Channel 4. Just wanted to ask you, the Toros, and I guess in conjunction with the Dynamo, have developed a pretty good youth academy and kind of what they've been doing down here in the Valley, right by HEB Park. What's that going to look like under this new agreement with the Dynamo? Do you guys still retain the rights to those type of players, or are those going to be more Dynamo property moving forward?
Yeah, no, great question. Any kind of academy that we have here, the rights of those players would be those of the Toros. Right now we have a partnership with the Toros Academy. It's a separate 501c3 organization that that exists, and we have that partnership with them and with the school at ID at Toros. But also there's opportunities in the USL now with the USL Academy League coming up, and all kinds of things. So I don't really know where we're going to sit a few years from now in terms of academy with USL opportunities and other things too. But that's definitely down the road.
Ron, good afternoon. Ray from South Texas Border Sports. I've got to ask you, so some people from the very beginning, when you were hired a little over 10 months ago and you were presented as the club's team president, how fundamental has Alonzo Cantu been throughout this negotiation process and trying to get some of these financial responsibilities more towards the club than the Houston Dynamo?
I think Alonzo Cantu is he loves the Valley, and he absolutely loves the Valley. That's why this business exists. That's why the sports teams exist. He obviously has the Toros and the Vipers, and that's the arena and the stadium that he's helped build. The reason these businesses exist is to improve the quality of life of the Valley. And so when he started talking to me about this, and we talked about, is there a way to do something a little different than what we've done in the past, I was very supportive of it and have been pushing for it. And I also want to compliment the guys at the Houston Dynamo too. They've been first class to work with. This has been a long process to kind of renegotiate together on the restructuring of this deal, and they've been nothing but spectacular all along. But Alonzo, absolutely, he's willing to make the investment in bringing the team controlled locally, because it's the best thing for the Valley and the people of the Valley, and that's why he does all the great things he does for this community.
Now, another question I do have: what kind of check marks does the next RGV FC coach need to fulfill in order to have a successful run down here?
Yeah, it's a big responsibility to be the guy that has to go find this appropriate head coach, right? You're asking what are the qualifications of this head coach. I think for the Toros to be successful, we need to represent the Valley. We need to play like the Valley in the style of soccer or football, as we say, that the Valley enjoys. I'm looking for someone that wants to be on the front foot, that wants to play most likely a possession style game where we're controlling the game, controlling the possession, moving the ball around. In the Valley, we don't produce a ton of 6'6" center backs, or a ton of 6'4" strikers. We produce some very technically sound players that are in the midfield and the wing backs and players like that. And the style of play is very fast, it's very quick. And I think that's what the brand of soccer is that the Valley wants to see. However, I don't know everything, right? And I think I've told you, Ray, since I met you from day one, my job is not to put out there what I want. My job is to put out there what the Valley wants. So I want to hear from fans of the Toros. I want to hear from soccer fans in general. Maybe we haven't earned them as fans of the Toros yet, but I want to hear what is it they want to see on the field? What style of play do they want to see? And anyone that's spent more than 5 minutes with me knows I want to hear the fans' opinions. I want to listen, and I want to give the Valley the product that they want. So I'm all ears as to what type of accolades and skills and finesse and style of play that these coaches have.
And now, with having a little bit more of the technical control aspect, what percentage do you want to see the roster being made of Valley players, being that there's a big hotbed here in the Rio Grande Valley with players available within the USL Championship, and perhaps try to recruit them down here?
Yeah, I mean, that's a loaded question, right? What percentage would I want to see? 100%. I think there's a ton of talent down here. Talent is developed over time, of course, as well. And, soccer is a sport where people come in at a young age and then have to continually be challenged and continue to play up to higher competition. I think that's the value of what the Toros Academy has done in the marketplace, is they've been able to take these teams out from these tournaments. And don't get me wrong, there's other clubs in the Valley and academies in the Valley that are doing this too, taking the kids to other tournaments. It's important that these kids get to play against different styles of play and different players. So if you're asking what I want, one day I'd love to see 100% of the team be from the Valley, but also I have to be cognizant of our number one job is to win games for the Valley. as at the same time represent the Valley in the right way. So it's a finding that right balance, right, between how much of the team is from the Valley and then the rest of the team is not. They're then become a part of our community. So then they represent the Valley and they become, adopted residents of the Valley. So back to your question, one day I'd love to see it be 100%. It's going to take time, obviously, to get to that. But it is important that we have players from the Valley on this team.
Hey, Ron, you talked about the interest of the fans and the Valley and getting their input. And I know you can only control so much of the product on the field, but you're really in the heart of controlling what you see off the field. So when you talk about kind of the brand of the Toros, it's really centered around the Dynamo, at least at this point. So under a new partnership, could we see as fans a different approach to how the Toros look, how they feel, how they're branded around the Valley, and what that process is going to look like moving forward under this new agreement with the Dynamo?
Yeah, definitely. And I think you're spot on, Daniel, with how the brand of the Toros has been in the past, where it's been branded as the Dynamo's, second team, I guess. And this means no disrespect to our partners at the Dynamo. It's just that the team needs to be about the Valley. And if you anyone that's seen our social media lately, and anyone's seen that our voice, I guess you would call it, to the outward world, is that we are very Valley centric now. The campaign we finished up today, actually, the last day, which Juan Gonzalez, who's on the call here, has been spearheading, is our 12 Days of Toros. So we took 12 different days throughout the month of December and donated our time at different nonprofits and charity causes around the Rio Grande Valley. And let me tell you, it felt amazing. I remember sitting there. We were at a youth center in, what was it called, Juan? It was the one in Port Isabel. Laguna Madre Youth Center. And they needed some help cleaning up and getting ready for the kids to come back in January. So a bunch of us went over there and helped clean up. And I'm sitting there scrubbing toilets in a youth center, and I'm looking around. I'm like, this is what it means to be a part of your community. I really enjoyed it. So I participated as much as I could personally. And then we had people from all over our front office, and Juan worked his butt off on that campaign. So we did 12 different community service acts around the entire Valley, not just in Edinburgh or McAllen. But we were in Rio Grande City, we were in Westlaco, we were in Port Isabel, we were in Brownsville a couple times, doing different things, Salvation Army, Habitat for Humanity, youth centers, museums, all kinds of stuff. So, but Daniel, to your question, I think we've got to put our money where our mouth is, or that's probably not the best analogy here, but we've got to let our actions speak louder than our words, and I hope that the community is starting to see that with our 12 Days of Toros. We've got more campaigns planned for the coming year. Is that with the news today, we launched our new hashtag Para El Valle, and that's why this team exists. It's for the Valley, and we exist to bring the Valley together, because there's something, one thing I've noticed, I've been here a little less than a year, there's lots of little cities in the Valley, right? There's not one huge metropolitan city and then a bunch of supporting like there are in other areas, and these cities become very competitive with each other. But there's certain things, right, that transcend that competition and bring the Valley together as a whole. When that team goes to the regional playoffs in football, and when that boxer comes out of the Valley, or when that football player goes to Texas and gets a scholarship, everyone in the Valley is very proud of that, right? That's what this team should be doing for the Valley, is bringing Westlaco with Rio Grande City, with Roma, with Brownsville, and bringing it all together, and that's what we're striving to do. So to do that, we have to let our actions speak louder than our words. I can't just tell you this is for the Valley. We have to show you. And I think we've started to do that. And my commitment to you, Daniel, and to everybody is we will continue to do that.
Yeah, Ron, good afternoon. Jeff Organ from Texas Soccer Journal. I'll go ahead and stop that. But in any event, I had a couple questions for you. Clearly, a lot of the other USL clubs are already well underway right now, building their rosters and technical staff. And so I think you're a bit under the gun, obviously not knowing when the season is going to start, but you're a bit under the gun in terms of getting things started. When do you anticipate that you'll have a head coach in place and begin to build the technical staff?
Yeah, good question. When do we need a head coach in place? I would say tomorrow or yesterday. But I don't want to let a deadline dictate us getting the right person for the job. But it's got to be soon. And like you mentioned, there are teams signing players. We do have a little bit later of a start this year because of COVID. Just so you know, we are operating under the assumption of around a May 1st start date for the USL season. So that would mean players would report around April Fool's Day on April 1st for the season. That's what we're shooting for and operating under that assumption. So, but the thing is, there are still lots of great players available that are out there. And so I'd like to get one in place at the latest beginning of January, maybe mid-January at the end. But again, I don't want to let a deadline affect us getting the ability to get the right person for the job. So I hope that wasn't too vague of an answer, but it's the honest answer.
No, I think obviously that's about all you can do under the circumstances. The second question, the Dynamo's ability to still control all the players in your roster surprised me a little bit. And maybe I don't understand the structure of the relationship that you have with the Dynamo, but how does that work? What effectively has changed? Is really the only change here that you're taking control of the technical operations?
No. What's happened is that we are taking control of the technical operations, yes. And then all the players on our squad, with the exception of a few players, so 3 to 6 players, will be loaned from the Dynamo. Everyone else is RGV players. It's going to be our style of play. So our head coach will dictate the style of play, as opposed to before where the Houston Dynamo dictated the style of play. And then the players that are loaned from the Dynamo will have to adapt to that style of play as well. So it is significantly different from a soccer perspective, the difference now between before. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. But I guess my specific question is how the players that you select, how can the Dynamo have first right of refusal on those players? It surprises me a little bit, given what I understand about the relationships between, clubs when they have these kind of agreements.
I'd have to double check with Matt on that one from the Dynamo, because I know that MLS has tried to do territories and things like that. I'm not as in tune with that as I am within USL rules and regulations. But I know that MLS typically will have, like when I was in New Mexico, right, the Rapids had the territory of New Mexico. But I'd have to get that answer for you and get back to you, Jeff, from Matt, and how that works with MLS rules.
Okay, yeah, I would appreciate that, because I think that's a question everybody's going to have. And then I think the third question that I wanted to have is that clearly you're going to be hiring people on the technical side to come in and put that together. But do you see that there's going to be an expansion in terms of the front office, given the new relationship that you have with the community, as opposed to, as sort of like an adjunct to the Dynamo?
Appreciate the question, the thoughtful question. I think we've been prepared for this. Literally the deal wasn't done until last night, but from a staffing perspective, when I came in, I made some changes to the front office and how we were set up. We were originally one front office where we were controlling the sales and the marketing and all the different operations and all stuff for both teams. What we did a few months back was we separated, so we had focus. We gave our people the gift of focus. So we have a dedicated Toros ticket sales team, corporate sales team, game and stadium operations team. And being that I built a team from scratch before, I knew exactly what we needed to have in place to properly operate the franchise. And also, in New Mexico, we had the weird thing where we had less sales reps than most other teams, and we sold more tickets than anyone else because of a result of how good the marketing department was. And then also because the people of New Mexico really took the team as their team. So if I do my job properly, the Valley brings this team in as its own and adopts the team as its own. And therefore, you don't need more people out trying to sell tickets, because the team is doing it itself, if that makes any sense. So I think we're prepared from the front office perspective. We're definitely not prepared on the technical side, because we need the coaching staff, but we have like the coaching support staff. Like we have our athletic trainer, our video analyst, all that other stuff's in place already. So it's not like we're starting from scratch. It's just shifting the technical side.
And the last question I wanted, the question that was earlier about the academy. Are you going to participate in the USL Academy program?
And right now, as of right now, there will be a team participating in that academy. It remains to be seen which team that will be. And we're having those conversations now with the Toros Academy, because the Toros Academy, again, as I mentioned, separate organization that we've partnered with, and they participate in the MLS Next Academy right now. And there's a chance that they would participate in that, or there's a chance that we would go out into our community and produce another team for that. It's still up in the air.
Thank you very much. This is actually a fantastic day, and you have every right, as I mentioned earlier, you have every right to be excited about this. Good luck.
Great. Thanks for your participation. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Does anybody else have any questions for Ron?
No, I just wanted to wish Ron a very happy holidays. To see you around, Ron, and thanks for giving us this a small gift of independence per se.
Hey, no, it's my pleasure. I've been inspired since I've gotten here, and today has kind of reaffirmed the decision as to why I came out here to take this post, and I can't wait to see what this team does for the Valley, and I can't wait to see the way that the Valley reacts to this team. And there's just something special about the game of football and the pride that it ignites in a community when the team is truly about the community. It's not just a line, right? That we're saying we're for the community. We're going to show we're for the community. So it's a beautiful thing. And I grew up in England. I was born a mile from Anfield, so I grew up with Liverpool as my measuring stick. So I've got a lot of. I know it's been a good year. I've got a lot of aspirations of that's how it's done. I'm never going to get to a point and say this is good enough, right? Until we have a more loyal and following the Liverpool, I'm always going to be looking up saying we can be better, we can be better, we can be better. And so that's my commitment to the Valley, is to be about the Valley, for the Valley, para el Valley. So
Great. Thank you.
all right, happy holidays, Jeff, Ray. Thanks for your participation. We really appreciate it.